Well, welcome to this week's ATL Home Market podcast. I'm Ira Miskin. I'm team leader and broker with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty in the Miskin Team, along with Stephanie Miskin, our co-team leader. And again, joining us this week is Josh Guallett, who is our senior team advisor and associate broker with the Miskin Team and Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And this week, we're going to be talking about money and how to get it. Now, we are not loan officers, even though we're going to be talking about loan programs. But as real estate professionals, as advisors, we do an awful lot of work to help our buyer clients to figure out how to best locate loans and lenders and loan officers that can help them to get the money that they need in order to make that home purchase. And for a lot of folks, particularly in this new world of finances being tough and savings being short and debt being high, having enough money to be able to put down on a home loan has become a very tangible issue. It's always been there, right, Josh? It's
Always.
always right. And Stephanie, we've experienced that even 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. But 20 years ago, you needed 20% down. You don't need that anymore. A lot of people don't even realize that.
That's right. So it makes it easier to be able to purchase a home as long as you can manage the monthly expenses with much less money down. But there are still folks who don't have enough money to put down and pay closing costs and all the things that come with it. And so we're going to be spending some time talking about and exploring what down payment assistance programs are, and also what kind of loans you can get where you actually need zero money down.
Mhm.
And there's a number of them, right, Josh?
There's a lot. There's a lot of them. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah. So
since
no,
there's a lot, go ahead, Josh.
no, I was saying there's some more local places. There's some more, and there's a lot of national down payment assistance programs too. So there's a lot to choose from.
Okay. Well, we're going to explore the elements of it so that you have an understanding of what that all means. But before we do, here in the fall, where it's getting cooler, this morning it was 53 degrees and we had to turn on the heat. Stephanie has some great events and some really fun things to do that you can do over this weekend and over the next few weeks. Even if it's getting cooler and it's outside, there'll still be great fun. Stephanie, what have you got for us this week?
Yeah, that's right. Fall is definitely in the air today. It feels great out there. We're not boiling up with, over 90-degree temperatures. So it is a great time to get out there and enjoy the weather. I do have some things that are this weekend and some things that are next weekend and further on into the month. So let's start with what is coming up this weekend. And this is a biggie. It is the 2025 Atlanta Pride Festival, which is scheduled this weekend, October the 11th and the 12th at Piedmont Park in Atlanta. And this is celebrating the 55th anniversary of this celebration. The dates are, as I said, this weekend at Piedmont Park. The theme is Rooted in Resistance. It's going to have a pride parade, the city's largest parade, live entertainment, cultural events, a marketplace. And so if you're in the city, check it out at Piedmont Park this weekend. Again, Atlanta Pride Festival. Now, also this weekend is going to be in the Marietta Square. And this sounds like lots of fun. I always wanted to go to it, but I've not gotten there yet. It is put on by the Marietta Cobb Museum of Art. And it is called Chalk Oktoberfest, okay? And what it is, it's chalk and a beer festival. Now you say, what the heck is that? Well, on the square of Marietta are going to be all of these fabulous artists doing street art in chalk. And they're also going to have a craft beer festival. So you can enjoy the afternoon sampling craft beers while you stroll from artist to artist and look at their beautiful artwork on the street. There's going to be live music, street food, and that sounds like a ton of fun. And that again is this weekend, the 11th and 12th from 10 to 5 p.m. And all of the proceeds are going to go to the Marietta Cobb Museum of Art, which is a nice little art museum kind of tucked away on the back of the square of Marietta. So check that out also. Now, this is going to be going on this weekend and next weekend. So you have 2 weekends that you can try to get this into your schedule. And I talked about this the other week. It is the Georgia Apple Festival. Again, that is up there in LJ. It is not far away, and it is at the LJ Lions Club Fairgrounds. Crafts, food, apples. I mean, check it out. Go up there. This is a gorgeous time of the year to go into the mountains. It is not very far. And, they're going to have live music. They're going to have all kinds of wonderful Apple stuff going on up there and artisan products. I think it'll be a blast. Again, LJ Lions Club Fairgrounds. So the Georgia Apple Festival this weekend and next weekend. So you have 2 weekends to do that. Another one that you actually have the entire month of October to check out is called Boo at the Zoo. All right. And again, it is exactly what it says, spooky season at the zoo. It's every Saturday and Sunday in the zoo. You're going to have trick-or-treating for the kids, carnival games, Halloween crafts, all at the Atlanta Zoo. I think that would be a great time to go to the zoo. And on top of it, you've got all this extra fun stuff going on for the month of October there for Halloween. So Boo at the Zoo all month of October at the Atlanta Zoo. Now, this thing I want to tell you about is going to be coming up on Thanksgiving. And I'm giving you time to prepare for this. This is on Thanksgiving morning. It is called the Gobble Jog. And it is a run on the square of Marietta. And all of the proceeds of the Gobble Jog are going to go to Must Ministries. So there's all kinds. You say, "Oh, I don't run," blah blah blah. Well, anyway, there's all these different races that you can run. There's a 10K, there's a 5K, there's a 1K, there's a tot trot, and there's a phantom virtual runner option. That's me. And all you got to do is sign up for that one and you'll get a t-shirt. But if you have any inclination to want to get out on Thanksgiving morning, it is, in the morning. So you're still going to have time to get home to the family and have dinner. Check it out. Go on, check out it's called Gobble Jog at Must Ministries, and sign up now and prepare for it. It's a great thing to prepare for, and that is on Thanksgiving Day morning. So that's what I have for you this week.
All right. And I'll tell you, we've been involved with Must Ministries for a good long time, right, Josh?
A long time. Yeah.
And the work that they do, both in Cobb and Cherokee and now across the city, and work that they're doing in schools to help people who are, in situations where that, in many cases, they don't have a home. No less, they can buy a home, get down payment assistance. These are people who oftentimes have no place else to turn. And with the kinds of programs and with the attention that's paid to people on an individual basis and also within the programs, they have helped tens of thousands of people to get their lives in order, to get their finances in order, to get homes to live in, to get jobs. They are just an extraordinary program.
That's
And
why I really love Must Ministries for that reason. I like how you said it, because they really do help people get on their feet. It's not just kind of a handout. It's not
Right.
trying to get them just through the day. Yes, they will give food, they will, give shelter, but the career counseling, the budgeting, they look out for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So
Right there, we do a lot of work from us on our team. We do a food drive, usually annually. We do a clothing drive. We just finished our clothing drive. We're going to bring everything over to them. We help out with the summer lunch program. Years ago, you used to actually be able to physically make the sandwiches, but then COVID hit, and so all that changed. So now everything has got to be, non-perishable. But we get together and we make all the and the summer lunch goes to all the kids through Cobb and Cherokee County who otherwise might not have anything to eat during the summer
and I think
because
that's
they
something
get
I
school
never
up.
thought about. Like before Must Ministries, before this group, I didn't think about that. It's not that I didn't care, and I think most people. It's not that people don't care; they just don't think about. Hey, they ate lunch because they're in school. Doesn't mean they're gonna have food when they get home.
Right,
So
absolutely. So we do a lot of work for them. Oh, they also have they have at Christmas time they have a what is it called, a toy shop.
toy job, yes.
The toy shop, and folks can go in there and pick out toys for their kids, and not have to pay for them. And we do a huge donation at Christmas time for the toy shop. So it's a really wonderful program.
Yep. So be healthy, jog and gobble jog.
Yeah, or be a phantom like me and sign up, and they'll send you a T-shirt, and then you can tell everybody that sure I ran the race.
Yeah, I ran the race. And of course, all donations go straight to Musk.
Absolutely.
And you go home and have a great Thanksgiving dinner, and Musk is there to help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have the food that they need in order to be able to have dinner.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. So that's the big group of things to do over the course of the next week and a couple of weeks. And packaged into all of that, holidays notwithstanding, because people buy houses 12 months a year, 52 weeks a year. And it's not just, I'll buy a house in the spring, I'll buy a house in the fall. It's when do you want to move? When do you need to move? And what is all the preparation that you need to do so that you can actually get it done? And of course, a big one is where do you get the funds that you need in order to put money down on a home loan and also have the additional monies that are necessary to pay the cost of buying that loan, because there are fees involved with the lenders in order to be able to purchase the loan. And then all of the other side expenses, a moving truck to move your furniture and,
the lawnmower.
That's right.
Some need a lawnmower.
Need a lawnmower. Yes, all of a sudden, oh my goodness.
Hmm.
So having the cash necessary, again, for some people, not a problem. But for a growing number of people who want and need to be able to purchase a home, having that cash available is tough. Thus, this group of programs, and this is not a new concept, but it is a concept that has really grown and broadened over the years, which is there's two sides of it: down payment assistance.
Right.
And the other side of it is being able to find loans where you qualify to not have to put any money down. And then you can actually, I think, Josh, combine zero down payment with down payment assistance in order to have the cash you need to be able to do the entire process.
There's certain ones that you can combine. Yeah. And then between anything else after that, you know, there's ways you can actually negotiate from the seller. That we've done that a lot of times in the past.
And I think something we're going to talk about was, I think a lot of people thought that down payment assistance was only for folks that didn't make a lot of money.
Right.
But that has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't, you know, you can, there are limits, but it's much higher than it used to be. Much higher.
And there are some programs that don't have limits. There are some programs that do not have limits. Any
limits at all. So you can make you could make, you know, over $100K a year and get down payment assistance.
Oh, I know some people that make over $200,000 a year and still need down payment assistance.
Yeah, I don't think I'm sure a lot of people did not realize this, because when you hear about down payment assistance, you think that, oh my goodness, you know, they're not making enough money.
Right.
So this is a huge difference than it used to be years ago.
So let's just talk a little bit about some of the elements of down payment assistance before we jump into some more detail. There's down payment assistance where that money is actually required to be repaid. And there's down payment assistance where, under the terms of the programs, if you meet all the criteria, that money is forgiven. What are the differences, Josh, and how does that generally work?
Well, generally speaking, the money can be forgiven both times. They usually are forgivable, but you have to meet the criteria of, say, one particular program, you have to make all your payments on time for 3 years, and then they forgive you for that down payment assistance. There's some programs that will forgive you for the loan as long as you, of course, make all payments, but you also go to a particular class, like you go like some volunteer work. There's some down payment programs where if you're in a certain field, you get a higher amount of down payment assistance. And there's some programs that, you know, allows you to do FHA versus conventional, which is something I definitely want to talk about today, where you have options for both FHA and conventional loans to get down payment assistance, where some properties will actually do need that.
And Josh, isn't there one that's like, if you live in the house for 5 years, you don't have to pay it back? Isn't there something like that?
There's several that has 3 years, and there's some that have 5 years.
Right. Which is not a long time when you think about it, living in a house. I mean, you blink your eyes and 5 years is gone. Right. So you live in the house for 5 years, you don't have to pay it back.
Right.
Yeah, I thought so.
And one of the things that, you know, I definitely want to say overall regarding down payment assistance is, especially when someone's coming from renting, you have the ability to go ahead and to get into the home, and at least you have a stable payment. You don't have to worry about the person, you know, the landlord going up on the lease. You don't have to worry about their kids are coming back. These are real stories, but, you know, they're living in a house. They've lived in the house for 7 years. The landlord's kids are coming back home from college, and now they still need the house again.
Right.
They still mortgage payment on time. They've taken care of the house. No issues or problems, but their kids, the landlord's kids, just supersedes, you know, this person.
Absolutely. You have very little control when you're a renter. You have no control when you're a renter.
No control.
Yeah, no, none.
Yeah.
Right.
See, being a landlord, owning investment and rental property is a great financial business to be in, because essentially you have control over the process. Your expenses are fixed, and on a year-over-year basis, as long as the property itself doesn't have huge repair costs, it's a very profitable business, because the renter is paying all of the expenses and you're making a profit.
Mm-hmm.
The exact opposite works if you are the owner.
If you're the renter.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the renter.
If you're the renter, but if you're the owner owning your own home, yes, you're paying a monthly payment, and it may feel like rent, but every time you make that monthly payment, you actually reduce the amount of that loan, and you own a little bit more of that property, with equity. So even if you start out with a loan in which you put zero down, fairly quickly, over just a couple of years, between the appreciation of the value of the property and the money that you're putting in, paying off some of that actual loan amount, you actually now have an asset. Josh, just give us an example, because we want to talk about this again in more detail, of what are the kinds of loans where a borrower does not have to put any money down, zero down payment
Mhm.
loan.
So you're referring to 100% financing loans.
Yes.
There's things like USDA, and there are a couple of different types of USDA loans, but USDA loans where, depending on the location that you're buying the home, really the population of the area of where you're buying, there's a loan where you have no down payment whatsoever. So you're really just walk in, you have closing costs, prepaid, things like that. But again, things that actually the seller can pay for. When it comes to, but even with the other down payment programs, if you're getting down payment assistance and they're paying 3.5%, you're still financing 3.5%, but you're not having to pay it out of pocket. So you're still 100% financing, but that 3.5% is forgivable. But there's also down payment programs where you get 5% down payment assistance, where your down payment's covered and you have additional extra costs that can apply towards, closing costs, can apply towards prepaids, can apply towards really just about anything, additional home warranty if you want to. There's ways that we've done a lot with that extra, amount. So all these programs are really well, if most you qualify, these programs work really well. And I want to make sure I say all these programs are not equal. There are certain reasons why even though 1% or one program says 100% financing, this other 3.5% down payment assistance program is going to be better. They may have a lower interest rate. They may have less strict guidelines or less overlays. Some may not require tax returns, where a lot of them will require tax returns. So if you're self-employed, if you're 1099, so all these programs will pretty much cover your entire down payment, depending on what program you're going through, what loan type you're getting. But really having guidance into what program is going to be more beneficial for you is going to be the most important part.
So what really becomes important then is how much can you afford to pay for a home as it translates into what is your monthly expense. Now, your monthly expense is always important, but it becomes all the more important because you have less equity in that home when you start with. And so you want to be sure that your monthly payment, which is going to be higher because there's no down payment that you've paid, particularly, and this goes particularly with, people who are buying houses through the USDA program. It's an FHA insured program, and it's available for people who are buying in communities that are a bit more rural. They have lower population density, the tendency to be for people who are in slightly lower income categories. But again, with USDA, like many of these loan assistance programs, in many cases, it doesn't matter how much you earn. It's how well you can pay back that loan.
And again, one thing I want to bring up about USDA, it's a great program. It's a great program for a lot of people, but just like you're saying, it's based on the population of the area. So places like Conyers and Covington, places like Ackworth and Dallas, places like Douglasville, honestly, even Lithia Springs, McDonough, all those were USDA territories just a few years ago. So if you are considering a USDA loan, do it. I recommend highly do it sooner rather than later, because as the populations grow in those areas, USDA gets pushed further and further out.
Right.
So that's where the other loans come into play. So if I'm speaking to someone, they say, I want to live in, I want to live in the mountains. I want to live, the North Mountains where, they're all Native American names, okay, USDA is great to go. But if you want to live in Smyrna, okay, we need to talk about a different program. There's plenty of programs for Smyrna, but USDA is not one of them.
Right.
Not one of them. So,
but if you're current military or retired military, there is a zero down VA loan program anywhere in the United States.
That doesn't have any location restrictions.
None whatsoever.
Right.
And it's weird because I've spoken to a lot of military people in the military or from the military, and they have I don't know if they're just not taught it via the military or what, but a lot of times they don't know how the VA loan can really work. But the VA loans, 0%, no down payment whatsoever. There's this thing called a VA funding fee, but there's ways to get it waived. So, I can talk about that if you want me to, but there's ways to get that waived. And then you can buy the VA loans, you can buy the home anywhere. No issues or problems.
Right.
Their appraisal is just a little bit different. So we have to, again, when it comes to these loan programs, FHA, VA, conventional, and all the other gamuts of, the things that go underneath it, the down payment assistance programs, you really need knowledge of how to kind of feng shui through it, kind of work through it. Because there are some people I would never say get a Chinoa loan, which is a different type of down payment program. But then there are some people that is the best loan for them. It's no question. So, but VA loan is a great loan.
Yep. And so one of the people, of course, that are folks that are part of our team are loan officers. Loan officers who have done a great many of these, who know and understand all of the different programs that are out there and know how to give you the information that you need to choose the best program. One of the folks on our team that has been on this podcast before, Dee Howard, is currently working with a client who this whole process had to be in 2 steps. She was able to help the client go through the necessary steps, which was classroom work and documentation provided to qualify for a down payment assistance program that worked in a very narrow section of Metro Atlanta, but it was there. And she was able to help that client do the work needed to get qualified for the down payment assistance program. Now they're going through the second step, which is finding a lender who will link with that down payment assistance program so that the money can actually be borrowed for the bulk of the loan. Now that's a bit unusual, but that just says that there's no one size fits all when it comes to down payment assistance programs and home loans. One of the big programs that is used a great deal and that a lot of buyers at least initially gravitate to is the Georgia Dream program. Can you folks give us an idea of what Georgia Dream is about? Maybe Josh, probably because you've been doing this, daily now.
So Georgia Dream is definitely a program, of course, from Georgia, and what they do is actually they'll give you usually about $7,500 towards your down payment, which will cover most, depending on what purchase price you're going for. A good thing about Georgia Dream though is that depending on what field you're in, so if you're in the medical field or if you're a teacher, that actually the word is a kind of a public protector, they'll actually give you additional money credited towards your down payment, or really towards your down payment and closing costs. If you cover your down payment, they still give you the money to apply to the loan. So it's a really good program, but even with this program, there's pros and cons to it. So there are some people I highly recommend. It will be a great program for them. Usually for Georgia Dream, you need 2 years tax returns. There is an income limit based on the county, but it's a really good program, especially if someone's W-2. They don't have to be a teacher, but they get more if they are, or, a public protector, healthcare worker. But there are one of the caveats is they charge a 2% origination fee. So, that's one of the things, the charge for the loan. So they charge a 2% origination fee. So for some people, it's a great loan. They hear about it. They think it's the best thing. But after actually going through it with them and explaining all the costs and fees associated, not with us, or anyone else, but with just the loan itself, we say, okay, let's try, this program over here. So, but it's a great USDA program. It's a great down payment assistance program, I should say.
And then there's I'll just read you off a short list. Okay. There's programs like City of Atlanta Home Ownership Assistance Program, Cobb County Home Funds, Gwinnett County Local Grants. Pretty
Yeah.
much everywhere you go, there's some kind of a program associated with a county or a city or a state that gives you something to look at in order to be able to actually work with that.
And I can tell you with those programs, those are all things that, really the lender has to be willing and able to do it. And most lenders are not willing to do the work. So I know with us and our clients, we take the time, we see which other programs, what other grants are out there available to our clients outside of down payment assistance. But you really have to find a team that's willing to do the work, because there's some work to make sure that you actually can apply to this program, get approved, and then also apply it to your down payment assistance program.
Right.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to say, when we're talking about all of this stuff, is people don't really realize the time involved that you need in order to prepare to buy a house. So for argument's sake, if you know that if you're a renter and your lease is going to expire in, say, 3 to 4 months, that's the time to talk to us 3 to 4 months prior to when your lease is going to expire, not 1 month prior to your lease expiring. And people don't realize that. And when I tell them that all the time, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, it takes preparation and time and research. And, we might have to look at a couple of programs, but to get you the best deal and the best house, you've got to think ahead at least 3 to 4 months.
And these programs some of these programs take a while to actually, get approved for. And again, some of these programs run out of money. They actually do have limits at times on, they'll run out of money and they have to wait till the next year to hopefully get a new grant in, for the state to be able to provide this down payment program again.
Right. And like you were saying with Dee, her client has to go to a class. So, they might, you as the buyer might have to do some stuff like that, take a class. So you've got to prepare for that.
And even with the government federally insured programs like a VA loan or the USDA loans, that's just not okay. I'm going to get a loan. We're going to buy a house out in the middle of no place, and in 30 days I'm done.
No.
All of them have criteria, and it also comes with, and again, this is advanced thinking. We will talk to prospects. I know, Josh, you talk to folks all the time that our team is answering questions for. They say, well, my lease is not up until next April. 7 months, 8 months, a year.
I like those people, honestly.
And you like them because
you have time to get everything straightened out. You have time because it's moving for, I don't care if you're unless you're a military family who's moved 5, 10, 20 times. Moving is a big experience. Moving is you're not just trying to connect yourself to a new world. You're trying to connect the kids. You're trying to connect the job. You're trying to connect the animals, to a new dog that's going to be barking at them next door. So it's a big move. So if you have the more time you have time to adapt to the situation and get ready. So if you need time, perfect example, conversation yesterday, they're talking about how they need to raise their credit score. And yes, they need to raise their credit score. Great income, but they need to increase their credit score. But they never thought anything about the fact they haven't filed taxes in 2 years. It's like, okay, you need to increase your credit score, but you also need to file your taxes if you want that particular program. All right. Just because you're doing one thing, their kid's going to graduate, 7 months. So we have a new timeline where we have this amorphous idea of, I want to move in the next year, but no, you really have about 7 months before you need to get to the next place. So having time to really have that conversation and put out a full plan that also moves with life, because things will come up. The car's tires are going to pop, guaranteed. You know, you have time to figure those things out. So when the time does come, you're ready. So 3-4 months, for most people, that's enough time. But there's some people that, I can talk to and just we can create a plan, and they need that year. It's like there's nothing else they can do. They need that school. Their kid's not going to graduate any sooner,
Mm-hmm.
So having time to really work and plan it out I like those people the most, especially if they listen, especially if they actually are motivated and actually want to get it done.
Yeah. See, the longer the time, the less actually work motivated people are. Because most folks are last minute. They do a lot of things last minute. And buying a home and securing a loan for that home, and particularly if you're securing a loan that has to be assisted by getting money from outside groups that have to be interfaced into that loan, because down payment assistance is not the loan.
Right.
The loan itself, that's 100% of the cost of the home. The down payment assistance part has to dovetail with that loan company, so that it's acceptable for the money for the loan to come from Georgia Dream and in the amount that they will give you. And that between the cost of paying that and the cost of paying your loan and all of the other costs associated with the monthly expense of a mortgage, as principal, interest, taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance when you have under 20% equity, and a second loan if it's a second loan that is repayable, versus a non-payment on that loan unless you default, in which case you have to pay the entire amount back immediately.
You don't see those very often. They do exist. You don't see those very often, though. They do exist.
People don't know this stuff. I mean, this is not common knowledge. This is not common knowledge. And that's why, I feel like this podcast is so important, because not only are we informing the public of what's out there and what is necessary to obtain it, we're also, informing them of like you said, Ira, buying a house is, unless you have $1 million and hidden under your bed somewhere, you not wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm going to go buy a house. And also the importance of working with a team that can educate you, stay with you, guide you along the way to basically, helping you get to financial freedom and stop being a renter for the rest of your life. I mean, I'm always so sad when I talk to these people that are older and they've never bought a home. They've been renters all their lives.
Yeah, right.
And you say, oh my God, do you realize how much money you just kind of threw out the window? That if they had talked to somebody like you or me or Ira earlier on in their life, might be, now have a house, maybe have an investment property. So I feel like this is a very important podcast, because you don't learn this stuff in school. Your parents don't teach you this stuff when you're growing up. And I think it's a very important podcast.
And I think a lot of it, one thing I want to add to it is we also help motivate. Sometimes you just need the motivation.
Yeah.
There's something about it's something about my brother coming to the house and helping me move something out of the garage that, hey, we just suddenly keep cleaning the garage all of a sudden. That hadn't been cleaned for, X amount of years. Just the act of someone kind of giving you that phone call to kind of make you keep that vision, because the world can be very stressful and will take that vision away really quickly.
Absolutely.
One thing very different that's happening in this generation that, didn't happen so much in previous generations is the idea of, house hacking, including, yes, okay, you're single, or it's just you and, your partner, and you want to live in a house. You can't afford the house, or you don't feel comfortable, or you're worried, whatever it may, you're worried about the finances, whatever it may be, even though really you're just replacing the rent that you're already paying with the mortgage. It's not much, it's really the same thing. And you own something, and you actually have an investment. But on top of that, there are plenty of people I know that are renting out the other bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
$600, $700, $800 a month, that bought the house with it, knowing that they have a basement so they can rent out the basement.
Right.
So they can live upstairs. And for a lot of single people, for a lot of small couples, it's a great idea. So there's a lot of different reasons. So free money, down payment assistance, then having a place to stay that you actually have an investment, and then you actually have an investment property already. Maybe one room at the moment, but you have an investment vehicle already, or just keep renting.
Right. Or, you keep that basement and then you have a couple of kids, mom and pop get older, and you put mom and pop down there and you're not paying for childcare.
We live in that's the real world. Let's just be honest. That's the real world.
I know.
Gosh, my life is destined to live in a basement. Okay.
Oh, our grandkids are almost at the point where they won't need us.
Yes. Well, it's okay. When I was a teenager, I had a flat that I shared with a guy for a while, and it was in a basement. So I guess, it's just bookends. It works that way. Let's look at a couple of scenarios, and the numbers that we're going to put out there are not hard and fast numbers. They're ideas of the use of money. The first scenario, Josh, is one where we've said, okay, Fulton County buyer is using Georgia Dream, going to buy a $350,000 house. What do the kind of numbers generally look like in that scenario?
So it depends on what down payment program you go with, but let's assume you're going with, one that 100% financing down payment assistance program. That let's just say you went with the 5% down payment assistance program. You're getting an FHA loan. An FHA down payment is 3.5%. So automatically your down payment is completely covered. And for people who don't know, we can definitely, have a conversation about, the additional costs or things that go around buying a house. I think that'll probably be pretty important. But, the closing costs, you already have 1.5% that can go towards your closing costs, that can go towards your prepaids. And then between that, a lot of times between, grants, government grants or grants specific to Fulton County, or negotiations from the seller, a lot of times people get their money back. So they do have to put earnest money down, being 1% or $1,000, but a lot of times people get that earnest money right back, especially between 5% down payment and the seller paying the difference. You get your money back. So there are plenty of opportunities and ways that you can walk into the house, and actually, it's kind of them paying you to walk into the house. But for 350, with down payment assistance, say they again cover 5%. Depending on that particular loan type, slightly higher interest rate. You're probably looking around the 24 range if you're including property taxes, homeowner insurance, depending on where you are and what you're buying. HOA fees, but it's pretty comparable to the rent.
Yeah, you're paying $2,500 or $2,800 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, or a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. What's the difference between $2,800 a month and $3,000 a month?
Right.
Of which, after you do your annual taxes, you discover that the difference per month plus additional monies are returned to you because of the tax rebates you get, because your taxes are deductible, your interest is deductible. You say
homestead exemption.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, home exemption, right?
So the big thing is being ready to be diligent, thoughtful, and pay attention to what the options are that are really a good team advisor that has a good sense of down payment assistance or zero down programs, and then can bring you together with a very good loan officer that is part of a very strong loan group that can attach an outside program, a county program like, Cobb County Down Payment Assistance or, the Georgia Dream program to the loan, which was likely going to become from a lender, with the lender looking at your credit scores, your debt to income ratio, how much money you owe versus how much money you pay versus how much money you make. And looking at how, when you combine all of that together, how much you can actually pay per month.
Mhm.
And so the lender says, okay, great. So you don't have 3.5% down, but Georgia Dream gave you the 3.5%. So the down payment's taken care of. But you're also going to need 2.5% to 3% to pay all the loan and closing costs. Well, I got another 1.5%, as Josh said, because their down payment assistance was 5%. And so now Josh is coaching our team members and coaching agents and doing it himself on negotiating seller paying closing costs so that at the end, even after having to pay your first year's mortgage insurance, paying for the home inspection, paying for the appraisal,
Home insurance.
paying for moving, we've done plenty of transactions where the seller is literally getting money back. I'm sorry, the buyer is getting money back at the closing table. At the very least, paying zero at close.
And I've had conversations, and this is something else, and I wonder what people think about it. It'd be great if people could put in the comments or send us some, comments. What do they feel? What are they concerned about the seller paying closing costs? Because I've had a lot of conversations with buyers and sellers that were buying another home. They're bought 2, 3, 4 homes, and they're worried about seller paying closing costs, and the seller not wanting to. And what I always tell every seller when it comes to closing costs, and this is a real conversation. Okay, so if you were to give the buyer who wants to buy your home, if you give this buyer $4,000, you get to walk away with $350,000. Is it worth it? It's like like if you just help them out a little bit, is it worth it? Like for some people, so it's a different conversation. But for most people that at least I like to hang around with, they kind of see the bigger picture.
Absolutely, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it is essentially managing costs and expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Seller wants to get as much as they can because they're going to have costs and expenses, including loans they have to pay off when they move. And so the net amount that they receive, the bottom line, is very important to them. So again, part of what we assist buyers in is knowing how to decide where and for how much the cost of the purchase of that home is going to be. If your finances say to you that you can pay $2,500 a month, and what we do is we help you to search out a home where all of the costs involved will be $2,300 a month. But in order to get this deal closed, you need a little bit more in the way of closing costs. You have a little bit more in the way of expense. If you've managed costs, expenses, and appraisal value of the home correctly, you can roll some of that cost into the actual loan, raises the sale price. The seller is not going out of pocket. The buyer is actually going out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
The costs are covered in the loan. And so that extra $200 a month that it costs may get you that $4,000 that you need to close. So there's negotiation that's necessary to be done to take all of the pieces. Where do I want to live? What are my needs? What are the costs involved? How long is it going to take? Where are the monies going to come from? Is it out of my bank account? Is it out of my bank account and the lender's bank account and a down payment assistant bank account and out of the seller's bank account? And who is working to put all of those elements together in the negotiation so that when you get to the closing table and the keys are handed to you, you can jump up and down and go, yay. Seller can jump up and down and go, yay. And everybody else that's assisted you to get to the close can pat each other on the back and say, yay for the buyer and the seller. And but that doesn't happen in a week. So when we tell somebody, right, and Stephanie, you've talked to people who are umpteen years out, and you'll tell them, now is the time for you to get your credit score pulled to see what your issues are. And they'll tell you, oh, I don't want to do that. I'll wait until.
Right.
What do you say to people who are so blind to the fact that it's likely they're going to have issues that they can solve over the course of the next 6 to 18 months, so that when you're ready?
Well, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. That old adage there. It's like, now's the time. You got to do it now. We need to know what is going on with your finances. I can't tell you. I don't have a crystal ball. You don't know. You make a lot of money, but you spend a lot of money. You got that nice BMW and your Mercedes in the driveway that you're paying for, and you're paying a lot of money rent. What's your debt to income ratio like? I don't know. Okay, well, we've got to do it now, right? You're laughing because we can't make this stuff up. I mean,
yeah, they're real stories. They're real people. This happened, 2 weeks ago, or very soon, recently. We're on this fall break, and I'm just working. I'm spending a day working. I'm just calling people, and I call a person, and they're on their way back from Disney, and they want to buy a house. In like 3 or 4 months. It's like, your finances, you can't afford Disney. Like, why are you coming from Disney right now?
Right. They have no idea. And it's not my job to tell them. It is a loan officer's job. So you need, if you want to get out of paying rent and your lease is up in a couple of months, now's the time. I don't care, $50, whatever it costs to pull your credit the first time. Let's see what it is. It's your first X-ray. It's an X-ray into your finances. Let's see what's going on. And I mean, I pretty much just talk to them like that. And if they're serious, they'll kind of listen, because they'll figure, it sounds like she knows what she's talking about. She's been around the block. She's done this one or too many times, So that's pretty much what I tell them.
Another thing that you reminded me of is another story. Is I was working with someone, and we're in the process of buying. She was getting things ready to buy a house, and I find out that she has a really, really nice car in the front, like in the front yard, like extremely nice. I get worried sometimes when the car is more expensive than the house.
Yeah,
like, kind of worries me at times, but it's not always a bad thing. But to find out she's paying $1,600 a month on the car.
Jeez.
And like, you can't do that. Like, you can do it, but is it a good idea? So
you want to be living in your car?
Right. So having a conversation of, okay, what can we do with this car? Can your family hold on to it for a little bit and take over the payments for it? So it's not on your name. Once you get into the house, you do whatever you can have. You can go buy 2 $1,600 a month cars.
Yeah.
That's your God-given right. But at that time, let's plan out so you actually can address these issues. And again, a lot of the times, there's actually 2 particular clients I remember. We just sat down and went through the bank statements with them to realize, like, you make this much money, but you all never have any money to save. Like, you never save anything. What is going on? Right. And they make so much money that it never really hit them that they're just hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so between them me saying, okay, I see there's a pattern here, getting them connected with the lender for them to go through, for the lender to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, we're able to kind of iron out those issues. They closed actually the end of last year. Actually, no, this year. But we're able to get those things figured out.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, sometimes you work with people for a year or more before you can get them into a house. So I know this is, I want it now, but that's not life. And there's so many things in life that are not, I want it now, right?
It's not life when you want somebody else's money.
No. Well,
If it's your own money, you can do whatever you want with it.
yes, absolutely. Correct.
When you want someone else to do something for you,
Yeah.
it's not immediate.
Yeah.
They like to know you can pay them back. They prefer to be paid back. They're kind of crazy. Like that.
Yes.
They should fix themselves.
So, to summarize, multiple steps in buying a house, no matter what you do. You're not limited just because you don't have enough cash to buy a home. The only thing that limits you is your willingness to take the steps and do the homework necessary so that at the end, the result is you have the home that you want. And all of the steps, the pieces have been taken care of in a logical order. And that you know that every month that you write that check to pay that mortgage, you have a little bit more equity in your home. Therefore, you have a bit more assets in your pocket, and that you're your own landlord. You benefit from every dollar that you have spent and that you will spend on the home that you own. And to do that, for those people who qualify for zero down payment programs, like people who are going to use USDA and live in the areas of Metro Atlanta where those FHA type loans are available. That's a terrific way of being able to purchase a house and not be strung for the upfront cost.
Mm-hmm.
The down payment assistance programs that can be added to the PICs so that the additional expenses that always exist when you're buying a home with a loan can be taken care of. Closing costs, appraisal costs, moving expenses, and so on. And the ability to, in working with a really good lender and loan officer that's associated with the team that's helping you to find and purchase that home, help you plan out how down payment assistance and loan programs, even zero down programs, can interface. And what you have to do to prove to the down payment assistance programs who need to approve you, and to prove to the home lender that's going to give you the $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 up front to buy that home, that you're a good financial risk. And then finally, taking the time up front to do the work so that when the moment comes when you are actually needing to make that purchase, everything that should be done is done.
Mm-hmm.
So now all you need to do is find the house.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we've not touched on in this sort of general survey or an understanding of that you don't need 20% down to buy a home. You could actually buy a house with zero down and get help to do it. Anything else that we should put out there before we have Stephanie give us a recap and wrap up of the cool things to do that you'll spend some of your money on that you might want to put down on a house to go out and drink and have a good time?
One thing I definitely want to bring up is if people were around, I know we all were around, 2006, prices were the highest they've ever been. Remember 2006, those home prices they were astronomical, and then of course the recession came. And now people wish they had those prices.
Mm-hmm.
People wish they had 2006. 2006 would be a dream, So things just tend to raise. Prices just tend to increase. The one thing limited is land, and the next thing limited is time, at least the time, in our own bodies. So one thing is, make a decision, move forward. There's a lot of ways to protect yourself, but when it comes to buying a house, when it comes to making sure it's a good investment, because it's an investment first. Butterflies are important, but I always say it's an investment first.
Right.
and get somewhere. Go ahead and get somewhere and stabilize your life, stabilize your family, and that's the biggest thing you can do it. I can't think of anything else on the face of this earth that's more stable than having a place to lay your head. Even if it's a bad place to lay your head, even if you don't have the right pillows, it's still having the ability to have somewhere that is yours. It's one of the most stable things you can do that you can build things on top of. So down payment assistance helps that happen. And don't feel like you need to save. Another thing I want to say is don't feel like you need to save your entire down payment. If you have the ability, if you can save it, great. I applaud you, no question. But down payment assistance is not a bad thing to get you where you need to be. A lot of people start with their down payment assistance that live in multi-million-dollar homes now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a mark of shame or anything like that. Get somewhere stable so you can build on top of that. And down payment assistance can help you do that.
Yeah, it's one of the great financial opportunities of living in a place like Metro Atlanta, which is part of the United States of America, where, with all due respect to all of the nutty politics that people scream at each other about, one of the things that we do not do, particularly in the real estate industry and helping people buy and sell homes, is we're not in business to punish people. We're in business to serve people. You have needs and goals, and there are many different ways to problem solve to meet those needs and goals to help you with the purchase and the sale of your home. And then there are all those cool people who spend their time thinking up and then executing wonderful ways to go have fun. Steph, give us a recap on having fun.
Okay. And I just want to say, the purpose of this podcast is to educate everyone and bring things to the table that we think folks might not know about. So I think today's podcast did a great deal for educating the public. And I feel like if you have any questions or you don't understand something or you just want some more information or you're thinking, oh my God, my lease is going to end in January. Can I do anything? It's October. Call us. There's no cost. There's no obligation. Somebody will talk to you. Josh will talk to you. Ira will talk to you. I'll talk to you and put you on the path to help you get in January, hopefully, out of that rental situation. So I just wanted to put that in there, that we're only a call away.
And I do want to add one thing you just reminded me. So we talked a lot about national down payment assistance programs, but our lender, Nexa Mortgage, we have a lot of specific to those. We have very specific down payment programs too. Mm-hmm. So there are some programs where, of course, there's 100% financing, no down payment, but we also have some programs where it's 1% down. And there's pros and cons to doing that. So we can talk about each your exact situation and kind of figure that out. And another thing that has nothing to do with the buyer themselves, but the property they're looking for. If you're buying a property that is can only go conventional, then we have to speak about only conventional down payment assistance loans. So that's why it's really important to have the time to, just like you're saying, have that conversation up front. Figure those options out now, because there's no reason for us to talk about a USDA loan if you need to be in Brookhaven. It's just
right. Right.
So,
okie dokie. So all the fun things to do now. All right. Really, there's so much stuff. It's ridiculous. All right. This weekend in the city, the 2025 Atlanta Pride Festival. We talked about that in Piedmont Park this weekend. There'll be the parade, live entertainment, marketplace, etc. So Atlanta Pride Festival downtown. Marietta Square, the Chalktoberfest, which is chalk and craft beer festival. And this is all of these great artists doing the beautiful work on the street. They're actually drawing with chalk on the street. You can walk around, view all the art, drink craft beer, eat great food. There'll be music, there'll be kid stuff, and it'll all help. The proceeds will go to the Marietta Cobb Museum of Art. It's free. You don't even have to pay to go. So check that out if you haven't been. That's this weekend. This weekend, next weekend, go up to LJ, the Georgia Apple Festival. crafts, apple delights, family fun, and that is taking place from 9 to 6, and it is taking place at the LJ Lions Club Fairgrounds. That's the main festival fairground entry. So check that out this weekend, next weekend. Go up there, get some apples, come back, make some apple crisps. Again, all month. Sounds like so much fun. Boo at the Zoo, presented by Georgia Natural Gas. All kinds of spooky stuff going on at the Atlanta Zoo. What a great place to have fun, with the animals in the background. I think we should take the grandkids there. Boo at the Zoo all month long. Get online. You'll see what's happening. I mean, all weekend, all month long, every weekend, and it's Saturdays and Sundays. So check that out. Get online, see which one floats your boat, and go to the zoo. Beautiful weather for the zoo. And again, preparation. Thanksgiving Day, the Gobble Jog race, which will benefit Must Ministries. It is Thanksgiving morning. All the proceeds go to Must. All kinds of different runs available. You can do from 10K to 1. There's a tiny trot, and there's the one for me, which you don't have to do anything. You can just sign up, and they'll send you a T-shirt. So again, in Marietta Square on Thanksgiving Day, the Gobble Jog. So that's what I have for you this week.
All right. So we truly hope that this week we put some good thinking elements in. Put on your thinking cap, as they used to say when I was a kid, and begin to just take the dream and start to make it more of an action. And if you do want to take more of an action, there's a number of ways to do it. Particularly if you want immediate information, immediate contact, someone that can, based on whatever your particular goals and needs are, help you to build a plan. Call us, text us, send us an email, set up a time when we can meet or Zoom, and just help you to begin the process to know what the steps are and what those steps are as they relate to you and your goals and your situation.
Yep.
So on behalf of Josh and Stephanie, I want to thank you for joining us again this week at ATL Home Market. This is something that we have grown to really enjoy doing, because it gives us a great opportunity to just put ideas and information out that you can use now, you can use later, you can share with others. And if you do want to share with others, why don't you let folks know about us, subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. And if you liked what you heard today, check it off as you liked it. And we will be happy to, again, get any information that you need based on any of the things that we've talked about this week to help you to begin your planning on how to go find money to be able to buy that home. So again, thank you from all of us at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the Miskin Team. And we look forward to seeing you again next week at ATL Home Market.
Have a great weekend.
Have a good one.